Survival Diary in the Haunted House. Embark on a chilling journey through the mysterious and haunted house that blurs the lines between the living and the dead. In The Haunting Harmony, the narrator discovers a diary within the desolate walls, becoming an unwitting part of a supernatural tale that unfolds across 7 harrowing days. Each day brings new revelations as the narrator traverses through enchanted paintings, revealing the stories of tormented souls trapped within the spectral confines. Devilish laughter echoes through the house, intertwining with the delicate dance of light and darkness. The haunted house, once a mere repository of memories, transforms into a nexus where life and death coalesce into an eerie symphony. As the narrator becomes entwined with the haunted abode, a curse emerges, binding them to the endless cycle of the supernatural. The listener is warned, delving into The Haunting Harmony unveils horrifying secrets and leads to a realm where escaping the grasp of the haunted house seems impossible. Will the mystery of the haunted house be unraveled? Or will those who dare to listen become ensnared in the perpetual dance between life and death? Brace yourself for a tale of spectral wonders and supernatural entanglements as you step into the enigmatic world of The Haunting Harmony. Day 1. Commencement of the Haunting. On the first day within the abandoned house, the space became more eerie and ominous than any imagination could fathom. The spring sunlight, instead of brightening the space, only cast dark shadows clinging to the walls. Every corner of the room felt like a trap, preserving dark memories from inexplicable events. The night wind howled as lost souls, and the vintage paintings on the wall seemed like mysterious crimson doors opening to a gruesome world. I felt as if I were stepping into the realm of ghosts waiting for their turn, and no step could lead me back. As the shadows spread, the air became stifling, and the house's walls seemed to shudder with the allure of horrifying secrets. The eerie sound of the wind became unsettling, resembling the echoes of curses released into the dark void. The vintage paintings on the wall appeared to come alive, thrusting me into heart-wrenching images, unforgettable moments of bloodshed. A chilling breeze swept through, and I sensed the smell of blood, a reminder of the gruesome events that occurred within this house. The first night unfolded a horrific adventure, and I felt that the nightmares had only just begun. The mystique and haunting nature of this abandoned house never diminished. On the contrary, it awakened curiosity and fear to the utmost depths of my soul. Day 2. Darkness and Eerie calls. On the second night in the haunted house, the atmosphere grew heavier, and shadows seemed to stretch from every corner of the room. Though the sunlight had vanished, there was no solace to be found. Instead, the night wind became more mystical, akin to the whispers of ghosts telling their stories. The vintage painting on the wall now resembled dark doors, inviting me into strange worlds where nightmares and reality intertwined. I seemed to have become a part of the horrific game that this house was playing. Midnight brought the sound of stumbling footsteps from below, echoing like gestures of restless souls. Faint apparitions appeared and disappeared like images of a blurry memory. The demonic nature of the house began to materialize, and I felt the pain and urgency from the lost souls. As I leaped into the mysterious sounds from below, I caught dark glances from the paintings around. They seemed to mock, turning joyful moments into heart-wrenching memories. The house was not just a resting place for souls, it was a dark trap, holding them like an untold, dark secret. The feeling of being drawn into the whirlwind of phantoms and horrors intensified. The eerie and painful presence invaded my mind, and I couldn't escape the dark truth of this haunted house. Day 3, Resonance from Below. The haunted house in the midst of darkness is unfolding a new chapter of horror. Strange sounds from the lower floor awaken like demonic melodies, pushing me into the realm of nightmares. The light from the room below shines, but I sense the presence of lost souls waiting. The hallway leads me into darkness, each step on the creaky floor, creating stifled sounds, like the silent tales of voiceless souls. I move towards the sound, curiosity and fear intertwining in my heart. As the door opens, a dim light touches me, yet it doesn't diminish the darkness of the space. The room below unfolds before me like a vivid painting, but the tranquility only exists for a moment. I sense a presence, an unseen existence, and amid the dark space, a female ghost stands silently watching me. The ghost appears calm, but her deep black eyes hold countless unspoken secrets. I recognize pain and unease in that gaze, like a voiceless spirit challenging me. Emotions intensify, and I can't control the trembling in my soul. The sounds become stronger, like ghostly winds invading the space. I begin to hear voices, untold stories of lost souls. Horrifying images of the past emerge, like an endless film, and I am drawn into the unspoken secrets of the haunted house. The light flickers, and I realize I am no longer in the present space. I have stepped into the world of nightmares, and there is no way back. ***. Day 4, Ghost in the Mirror. A profound silence of demonic essence envelopes the room, each of my footsteps on the floor echoing like a sinister harmony. In the dark room, I pause in front of the mirror, where a vivid portrait of a young woman emerges. She wears an old-fashioned dress, but the light falling on her face turns her smile into something eerie. The painting seems like a frozen moment in time, and I sense overwhelming unease emanating from that image. The deep black eyes of the woman stare straight into my soul, as if inviting me on a horrifying journey. I gaze intently at the painting, and it seems like time begins to distort. I feel like I am falling into a magical mirror, where reality and illusion intertwine. The painting in the mirror is not just an image, it is a doorway to the world of unfortunate souls. As I touch the painting, a mysterious force surrounds me. The bathroom disappears, and I start moving through different paintings, like a journey into the dark memories of the haunted house. I leap from one world to another, each painting a window opening to a new story. Horrifying images appear before me, but my presence doesn't affect the life within the paintings. I am an observer, a writer of forgotten stories. The last painting leads me into a mysterious space where light and darkness merge. A large door opens before me, and as I step through, I find myself back in the dark room, in front of the demonic mirror. I look into the deep eyes of the woman, and this time, her smile on the face transforms into pain and agony. I sense unhappy souls seeking liberation, and the haunted house becomes the final wall holding them back. The world of demonic images in the paintings and the real world intertwine, and I realize that I am not just an observer anymore, but a part of these unspoken secrets. The light in the room brightens, and I see the woman in the mirror clearly. She seems to step out of the world of demons. Her presence is no longer a haunting, but a challenge to me. Demonic calls echo in the space, and I begin to realize that the haunted house is not just a place to bury dark memories, but also an endless source of magical energy between life and death. The smile on the woman's face becomes more ruthless, and I realize that she is the soul of the woman in the painting. She is part of this horrifying story, and I have become a witness to her boundless suffering. The scenery in the room transforms, and I feel drawn into a magical universe. The paintings begin to fade into darkness, but the haunted house still stands there, a part of life and death. I feel like I've lost control, and my soul begins to wander in the maze of space and time, where all limits disappear, and truth becomes unclear. The haunted house, with its secrets and demons, becomes a universe of pain and suffering. I am no longer an observer. I have become a part of this horrifying story, and the haunted house is no longer under the control of any soul. Day 5, The Secret Opening. On the 5th day in the haunted house, a mysterious door opened, completely altering the horrifying picture of the adventure in the darkness. Curiosity and fear intensified within me as I crossed the threshold of the newly opened door. Behind it was a sealed room, filled with ancient paintings, each containing a horrifying tale from the past. I stood there, gazing intently at the paintings, and each image seemed like a sign of souls awakening from a long slumber. The first painting depicted an ancient courtyard, but this space was far from tranquil. The golden colors gradually turned into flowing red, resembling blood, creating a chilling atmosphere. As I touched the painting, a mysterious force surrounded me, and I began to step into the world of nightmares. Each painting was a window opening to a dark era where lost souls and suffering emerged. The second painting took me to a dark forest where the rustling of the wind became icy. Tall, ancient trees cast long, oppressive shadows, resembling bound souls. Dim lights in the middle of the forest revealed faint ghostly figures, and I sensed the loneliness and isolation of restless souls. Each painting led to a new adventure, but the connection between them was deathly and painful. I passed through the doors of time, but there were no signs of perfection or happiness. The haunted house in the midst of the woods stood as an isolated tower in the darkness. The third painting unveiled a world of horrifying oaths. The sky burned red like fire, and blurry ghostly figures grew.
Mysterious flames. I sensed the presence of dark forces, and the haunted house became the ultimate barrier against annihilation. Every painting was a separate universe, but all were connected to the haunted house. Suffering and pain had no endpoint, and I realized that this house was not just a place holding memories, it was an endless source of magical energy pouring out. I moved through different worlds, but there was no comfort or release. The fourth painting portrayed a vast ocean, but beneath the deep were profound shadows where lost souls were submerged. The underwater light transformed into black, making it impossible for me to distinguish between the top and bottom. Each painting was a piece of this horrifying story. I stared intently at the images of souls sinking into loneliness and despair. The haunted house became a vivid painting, a place where the real and magical worlds intersected. The fifth painting opened a new, mysterious door. I stood before a mystical gate, where light and darkness merged. The door took me to an indefinable space where time lost its meaning, and space transformed. The haunted house became fainter, but the magical power became stronger. I leaped from one world to another, but there was no final destination. Each door opened a new adventure, but there was no escape. The haunted house became a blend of time and space, where every presence lost its meaning. Every step I took was a new nightmare, but I couldn't stop. The suffering became endless, and I realized that this haunted house was not just a place holding memories, but a universe of boundless pain. The fifth day passed in the chaos of space and time. I sensed unhappy souls wandering in the darkness, seeking liberation that they would never attain. The final door opened, and I stepped into a profound space, where truth and illusion intertwined. The haunted house was no longer a shadow, but a vibrant entity, controlling everything around it. As I stepped out of the final door, I returned to the dark room in front of the demonic mirror. The young woman's smile was no longer one of pain, but a challenge to me. The light in the room brightened, and I felt I had lost control. My soul was trapped in the labyrinth of space and time, where all limits disappeared, and truth was no longer clear. The haunted house, with its secrets and demons, became a universe of pain and suffering. I was no longer an observer, I had become a part of this horrifying story, and the haunted house was no longer under the control of any soul. Life and death were no longer opposites, but a strange harmony. The smile on the face of the young woman became more ruthless, and I realized that she was the soul of the woman in the painting. She was part of this horrifying story, and I had become a witness to her boundless suffering. The scenery in the room transformed, and I felt drawn into a magical universe. The paintings began to fade into darkness, but the haunted house still stood there, a part of life and death. I felt like I had lost control, and my soul began to wander in the maze of space and time, where all limits disappeared, and truth was no longer clear. The haunted house, with its secrets and demons, became a universe of pain and suffering. I was no longer an observer, I had become a part of this horrifying story, and the haunted house was no longer under the control of any soul. Day 6, Devilish Laughter in the Night. On the 6th day in the haunted house, a new chapter of the nightmare unfolded. In my sleep, devilish laughter echoed from below, like the cries of restless souls. Light and darkness merged, creating a mysterious space, and I began to understand that the secrets of the haunted house were boundless. Everything around me became more vivid in the flickering light. The devilish laughter continued, but now it carried something different, a kind of pain and anguish. I sensed soul seeking release, and the haunted house stood as the final barrier, holding them back. I stepped out of my room, following the devilish laughter. Glittering lights from below beckoned me like an invitation. I ascended the stairs, entering the profound darkness of the lower floor. Like an invisible force guiding me, I moved toward the mystical light. The laughter became more distinct, like demonic music filling the space. I sensed the vitality of the souls, but also the desperation and suffering. Lights flickered, and the shattering sound echoed like devilish music, making my heart beat faster. As the door opened, a faint light touched me. The room below unfolded like a vivid painting, but the tranquility lasted only for a moment. I sensed a presence, an invisible one, and in the dark space, a female ghost stood silently, staring at me. The woman in the painting had become a reality, and I recognized her as the soul of the young woman. She sneered, but the deep black eyes held an insatiable desire. I began to understand that the haunted house was not just a place of memories, but also a haven for unhappy souls. I heard their voices, tales of painful lives and inevitable deaths. The haunted house became a stage for horrifying stories, where lonely souls could share the final pieces of their lives. The devilish laughter intensified, like a challenge to me. I sensed the awakening of the souls, but also the loss and torment. Light and darkness, life and death, all blended into a mystical harmony. I stepped into their space, becoming a witness to these horrifying stories. The vivid painting began to unfold, revealing new twists of life and death. I became part of this pain, but also a source of strength for soul-seeking liberation. The devilish laughter continued, but now it carried a kind of pain and anguish. I sensed soul-seeking release, and the haunted house stood as the final barrier, holding them back. I began to understand that my mission was not just observation, but also to become a source of strength for these souls to continue their journey. Friday was not just a new chapter of the adventure, but also a significant step in understanding the mystical nature of the haunted house. Light and darkness, life and death, all blended into a mystical harmony. I had become part of the story, and the haunted house was not just a repository of memories, but also a space of life and death. Day 7, Merging Worlds Beyond. On the seventh day, I stepped into the mysterious realm beyond the haunted house. Behind the final door was a new space where time and space no longer held sway. I was no longer just an observer, I became a part of the story. From the vivid painting, I entered a world intertwined between life and death. Light and darkness blended, creating a mystical and enchanting space. I was no longer an observer, I became a part of the story. Unhappy souls reached out to me, and I sensed the harmonious interplay of life and death. The haunted house became a source of magical energy, erasing all boundaries, and reality became unclear. I began to understand that the house was not only a repository of memories, but also a space of life and death. In the world beyond, I saw vibrant paintings transform, containing new developments of life and death. The flickering light illuminated, and I sensed souls being liberated, but also the loss and despair. Devilish laughter echoed more powerfully, like the final music of a horrifying play. I entered their space, providing a backdrop for the vivid painting of life and death. I became a source of energy for soul-seeking liberation, and the haunted house became a bridge between two worlds. Saturday was a mystical journey through the world beyond, where life and death were no longer opposing, but a wondrous harmony. I was not just a witness, I became a part of this harmony, a source of energy for the continuation of these souls. Finally, I stood before the last painting, where everything merged into a final endpoint. I saw the image of myself, a part of this mysterious story. The sparkling light, I sensed the harmony of life and death, and I knew that the haunted house was not just a place of memories, but also a space of life and death. But this harmony did not come easily. In the final painting, I saw the image of myself, but no longer as a living being. The movement of time stopped, and I became a part of the endless space and existence of the haunted house. The curse of the diary writer was a power I could not control. I became a trapped soul, unable to break free. Each of my stories became a part of the haunted house, each word a curse with no escape. And now, I became a part of that curse. As I sank into the harmony of life and death, I knew that those who heard my story would have to face the inescapable curse of the haunted house. Horrifying secrets awaited, and the harmony between life and death would lead them into a mystical world with no way back. I, the diary writer, now a part of the harmony, a lost soul within the endless haunted house. My narrative became a part of the curse, and the adventure in the haunted house concluded with the end of life and death. Those who listen to my story, beware, for they will have to confront the inescapable curse of the haunted house. Horrifying secrets await, and the harmony between life and death will lead them into a mystical world with no way back.